Willie Mays quotes, and I'm going to be using quite a bit of his quotes, but one of them that I'm going to start with. Every time I look at my pocketbook, I see Jackie Robinson. What do I think about that quote? He know where he got his start. Jackie Robinson broke the color line in baseball for black baseball players. He knows the impact of what Jackie Robinson meant. He knows that Jackie Robinson put himself out there on the front line. You never forget that. People sometimes act like they don't want to acknowledge the past. They want to act like it's been a smooth sail that they just magically got there without anyone paying any dues. Well, the old buddy, somebody got to pay dues, especially when you're black, because it's always a reminder that, hey, you didn't have it made. And if it wasn't for someone's sacrifice, what you got would be tenfold worse. Because you heard horror stories. If you grew up with grandparents or relatives of people of a certain age in a certain sect, they let you know what was up. Major League Baseball was just as racist, institutionalized as any other thing. And Willie Mays did start from the Negro Leagues until he did come up baseball with the Giants and then had his opportunity. So he heard, saw, went through all kinds of situations. He was a great player. He was very charismatic, had a lot of personality. However, he knew how impactful Jackie Robinson was. You know, you have to understand that that was very much a part of who you were. You can't separate being a black man and a black baseball player and not it being one and the same because you also had to perform at such a high level because you were told that you weren't supposed to be there. The resentment, the tension, the hostility is all real and documented, and even worse than what they ever present. But he was to say, "Hey, kid," he somehow they manipulated enough where people loved him, and they never really asked him all the way. But when he made a remark like this, that speaks volumes. That's saying that without that man's sacrifice, I don't make a dime. He understood the brotherhood. He understood what that represented. He understood what that meant. And that was a strong statement. And I have other quotes by him, but I'm using this one in particular because, how often do we say that? Like, especially if you're black, like if you look at your grandparents or your parents or somebody that was full run for you, that you say thank you because without you, the way they treated people and the Jim Crowisms and all that, I wouldn't have much of nothing if I didn't have that. So thank you for the foundation. I think it's always important to understand where you came from to get to where you're going because if you don't know, history has a tendency to repeat itself, the dump down culture, the ignorance and the lack of self respect and tact. So um very quotations, you know. And it's good to hear that coming out that there's a lost art. That's a lost art. I remember seeing Frank Thomas saying he didn't really want familiar with Jackie Robinson. And this was like what I want to say probably about 50 years after Jackie broke the line. Like you should know that by mandatory. You know how far that it wasn't that long ago. And this wasn't hundreds of years ago. This is the last almost 80, which isn't that long ago. So it is a reminder that, if you're playing, when you wear the number, understand what he meant, you know, because he was tough on all counts and he had no room for error. No room for error. And Willie Mays let it be known what that was. So a great quote by Willie Mays. Wash your hands, keep your mind clear, watch out for another. Share it if you like. Stay safe, stay blessed, stay woke, stay free. I'm out one time. Peace.